shift, the stakes are high. The mag breaks it down, no need to sigh. From EU rules to global news, Reg with Meg, your trusted views.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Reg with Meg. Today we're taking a trip down under, but maybe not where you'd expect. We're heading to New Zealand to explore their unique approach to medical device registration. And when I say unique, I really mean it. It's a system that can look deceptively simple on the surface, but has a lot of important nuances.
That's right. For anyone used to the stringent pre-market approval pathways of, say, the FDA in the United States or the extensive technical file reviews for CE marking in Europe, New Zealand's system can be a bit of a surprise. The headline feature is that Medsafe, which is the New Zealand Medicines and Medical Devices Safety Authority, does not require pre-market approval or licensing for most medical devices.
Okay, let's just pause on that for a second, because that is a huge statement. No pre-market approval? So in theory, you could have a novel, high-risk device and not need to go through a government body's approval before you start selling it.
In theory, yes. Instead of pre-market approval, the process is centered around notification. Before you can market or sell your device, you have to notify it through an online database called WAND, which stands for the Web-Assisted Notification of Devices.
A notification. So you're basically just telling the government, hey, we're here and we're selling this product. It sounds a bit like the Wild West, if I'm being honest. What's the trade-off? There must be a catch.
There is, and it's a very important one. The trade-off for this streamlined market access is an incredibly rigorous and proactive approach to post-market monitoring. Medsafe puts a huge emphasis on surveillance of devices once they're on the market. They've built their entire safety net around monitoring real-world performance.
Right, so it's less about gatekeeping at the entrance and more about policing the streets, so to speak.
Exactly. If a device is found not to perform safely according to its intended purpose, Medsafe has the full authority to have it recalled from the New Zealand market. So while the door to the market might be easier to open, it can be shut very quickly if there are problems.
That makes a lot more sense. It's a different philosophy of regulation. So let's dig into this WAN database. You said it's a notification, not an approval. What does that mean in practice for a manufacturer?
In practice, it means the WAND database functions purely as a register. It's a tool for Medsafe to keep track of what devices are on the market, who is responsible for them, and how to contact them. There's no certificate, no license, and no official approval that comes from being listed in WAND.
And because it's not a review process, I'm guessing the cost is different too.
Dramatically different. There is no fee required to notify a device in WAND. This is a significant contrast to the thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars that can be spent on review fees in other jurisdictions.
No fee? That's incredible. Okay, so what's the timeline? When does this notification need to happen?
The notification must be completed within 30 calendar days of a manufacturer retaining a sponsor in New Zealand. And this brings us to what is arguably the most critical piece of the puzzle for any overseas manufacturer, the New Zealand sponsor.
Right. We see this concept of in-country representation in many regulatory systems. How does New Zealand define a sponsor?
The sponsor is the legal entity in New Zealand that takes on the responsibility for the medical device. They are the primary point of contact with Medsafe and are legally accountable for the product's safety and performance once it's in the country. To be a sponsor, you must be physically located in New Zealand and operate a business there. It could be an importer, an exporter, or the manufacturer themselves if they have a New Zealand office.
So for a company based anywhere else in the world, appointing a sponsor isn't optional, it's mandatory.
It is absolutely mandatory. You cannot access the market without one, and their role goes far beyond just submitting that initial WAND notification.
Let's break that down. What are the ongoing responsibilities of the sponsor?
They have a number of key obligations. First, they have to keep the WAND notification updated. If there are any changes to the device or the manufacturer's details, they have a very short window, just 10 working days to update the entry.
10 days is quick. What else?
They are required to maintain distribution records, so they know exactly where devices have been supplied within New Zealand. This is critical for a potential recall. They are also the ones responsible for notifying Medsafe of any adverse events, recalls, or corrective actions that happen, either in New Zealand or globally.
So they are the safety communications hub.
They are. And finally, they have to verify that all advertising and promotional material for the device complies with the medicines regulations of 1984. So they have a commercial compliance role as well. It's a comprehensive set of responsibilities.
It really is. This makes the choice of sponsor a massive strategic decision. You're not just hiring an administrator, you're appointing a legal representative who holds your company's fate in their hands.
You absolutely are. And this relationship is so important that even changing sponsors is a formal process that requires cooperation. If you decide to move to a new sponsor, your old one must go into WAND and officially mark your device listings as obsolete before the new sponsor can take them over.
Wow, so a clean break might not be so easy if the relationship sours. That's a crucial piece of advice for any commercial agreements. Okay, so we've established the what and the who. Let's talk about the device itself. You mentioned that even without pre-market approval, Medsafe can ask for technical documentation.
Yes, they can. While they don't review it up front, they reserve the right to request your technical file at any time to verify the device's safety and performance claims.
And this is where the system really shows its efficiency for globally minded companies.
How so?
Because New Zealand's system effectively leverages the hard work you've already done for other major regulators. If you have European CE marking under the MDR or 510K clearance from the US FDA or registration with the TGA in neighboring Australia, that documentation is generally considered sufficient to demonstrate safety to Medsafe.
So it's not about reinventing the wheel. You can bring your existing evidence package to the table.
Exactly. It makes New Zealand a very attractive market for manufacturers who already have approvals in these key jurisdictions. You're not starting from scratch.
That's a smart way to regulate for a smaller country. Rely on the groundwork of the bigger players. Now, what about device classification? In the EU or US, your classification dictates your entire regulatory pathway. Is it the same in New Zealand?
It's another point of difference. In New Zealand, your classification does not dictate the market entry requirements. Whether your device is a low-risk Class 1 tongue depressor or high-risk Class 3 heart valve, the process is the same: notification and WAND by your sponsor.
That is fascinating. So the classification is irrelevant for getting onto the market.
It's irrelevant for the pathway, but it's not irrelevant information. You are still required to determine your correct classification and include it in the WAN notification. It's a required data field.
Okay. And which classification system do they use? Is it their own, or do they align with others? They align. New Zealand follows the classification scheme laid out by the old Global Harmonization Task Force, the GHTF. The rules are laid out in Schedule 2 of the regulations. It's a risk-based system with 22 rules, likely familiar to anyone who has worked with the old MDD in Europe or with TGA classifications.
And the usual rule applies, I assume. If multiple rules fit, you go with the highest risk class.
That's the one. The highest risk classification must be applied. And crucially, Medsafe will not help you with this. They don't offer pre-market consultation on classification. It is 100% the sponsor's responsibility to interpret the rules and assign the correct classification.
Another heavy responsibility for the sponsor. It really reinforces your earlier point about choosing a knowledgeable partner.
It does. Alongside the classification, you also need to provide the device's GMDN code, the Global Medical Device Nomenclature Code, which is a standard way of identifying device types.
Okay. Is there any flexibility in the notifications? For example, if you have a product family with many variations, do you have to create a separate notification for every single one?
There is some flexibility. For devices that are Class 2B or lower, you can group them into a single WAND notification, which is very helpful. But the criteria are strict.
What are the criteria?
They must all be from the same manufacturer, have the same risk classification, the same GMDN code, the same intended purpose, and the same fundamental method of use. If you meet all of those conditions, you can group them.
That's good to know. It can definitely streamline the process for manufacturers with large portfolios of similar devices.
Definitely.
So let's walk through the actual WAN submission. My sponsor is ready, they have my manufacturer details, my device description, the classification, the GMDN code. What do they do?
They log into the WAND portal, which, again, only they can access. The notification entry itself is a series of questions about the device's characteristics. It's largely driven by drop-down menus, which makes the data entry quite structured. They'll need to input the intended purpose, a detailed description, and if the device is sterile, the sterilization method.
Sounds pretty straightforward. Once they hit submit, what happens?
If all the required fields are filled out correctly and they've signed the compulsory declaration, WAND provides an immediate confirmation of the notification. There's no waiting period or review queue.
Immediate confirmation. That's a huge benefit in terms of planning and speed to market. We're used to waiting weeks, months, or even years in other places.
It's a major advantage, and it's important to remember that WAND is not a public-facing database. The information is confidential between your sponsor and Medsafe. Your competitors can't just go in and search for your products.
A very important point. So the device is notified, it's on the market. Let's return to the heart of the system, that post-market safety monitoring. You said it was driven by users and providers. How does that work in practice?
It's a really interesting model. Medsafe has created a very open and accessible reporting system. They actively encourage healthcare professionals, device users, and even patients to report any concerns they have about a device's safety or quality directly to Medsafe. This could be a full-blown adverse event or just a concern that the device isn't working as it should.
So it creates a wide net for catching potential problems, drawing on the experience of everyone who interacts with the device.
Exactly. Once a report is received, it's not just filed away. Medsafe staff perform a risk assessment on every single report. They look at the severity of the issue, the chance of it recurring, and the potential impact on public health. Based on that assessment, they decide on the appropriate level of investigation.
And that investigation brings the sponsor back into the loop.
Correct. An investigator is assigned, and they work directly with the sponsor and the original device manufacturer to get to the root cause of the issue. The goal is collaborative problem solving.
What are the potential outcomes of such an investigation?
It's a whole spectrum of possibilities. For lower risk issues, it might just be continued monitoring or a safety communication published on the Medsafe website to alert users. For something more significant, it could lead to required product modifications or revisions to the instructions for use or product labeling. Sometimes the answer is simply better user education and training.
And for the most critical safety issues?
For the most critical issues, Medsafe will issue a mandatory recall to remove the product from the market. They also actively communicate and share safety information with other regulators, particularly their counterparts at the TGA in Australia, ensuring that a problem found in New Zealand can help protect patients elsewhere.
That international cooperation is vital. So, to bring it all together, what's the final verdict for a manufacturer considering New Zealand?
I think the verdict is that it's a very accessible and logical market, but one that you must enter with your eyes wide open. The path to market entry is straightforward, especially if your device's safety is already well established in other comparable markets. But the key to success and to long-term compliance lies in your choice of in-country representation. A strong, experienced sponsor is not just a nice-to-have, it's the foundation of your entire New Zealand operation.
It seems that everything we've discussed today, from classification to WAND updates to post-market investigations, all flows through the sponsor. They're the true gatekeepers and guardians of your device in that market.
That's the perfect way to summarize it. If you have a solid product with a good safety record and you partner with a high-quality sponsor, New Zealand can be an excellent market to be in.
Excellent. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. Thank you for making such a unique regulatory system so clear and understandable.
You're welcome. It's a fascinating case study in regulatory philosophy.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. We hope this demystifies the process for anyone looking to bring their medical technology to New Zealand. Until next time.
Stay informed and stay compliant. Bye, guys.